The Israel-Hamas conflict has once again made headlines, capturing the world's attention with its intensity and tragic consequences. This decades-long struggle has claimed countless lives, leaving a trail of devastation and sorrow in its wake. Families have been torn apart, and communities have been left in ruins. Another chapter of violence has erupted in the Middle East, as the Israel-Hamas conflict once again sends shockwaves across the globe. But this time the stakes are higher than ever before. Today we're diving into the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict and its far-reaching implications. From devastating civilian casualties to its impact on international diplomacy, this conflict is not just about two sides. It's a situation that involves global powers and could shift the balance of the Middle East for years to come. The conflict is rooted in a complex web of historical grievances, religious differences, and territorial disputes. These deep-rooted issues have made finding common ground incredibly challenging. At its core is the question of Palestinian statehood and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. These are fundamental issues that have yet to be resolved, and they continue to drive the conflict. The two sides remain deeply divided, with mutual distrust and animosity making dialogue difficult. The physical and psychological barriers between them seem insurmountable at times. The international community has struggled to find a lasting solution. Numerous peace initiatives and negotiations have been attempted, but a comprehensive agreement remains elusive. This latest chapter in the conflict is a tragedy for all involved. Innocent civilians, including children, bear the brunt of the violence, and the humanitarian crisis continues to worsen. But before we get into the heart of the matter, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss important updates on global affairs. What's your take on the Israel-Hamas conflict? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The roots of the Israel-Hamas conflict stretch back over a century, but this latest violence began with provocations in Jerusalem and Gaza. A cycle of tit-for-tat attacks escalated tensions. The eviction of Palestinian families from Sheikh Jarrah in East Jerusalem was a key trigger. Protests and clashes with Israeli police followed. Hamas responded by firing rockets into Israel, prompting airstrikes on Gaza. Israel claimed these airstrikes targeted military sites but caused civilian casualties. The conflict quickly escalated into a full-blown war when Hamas targeted Israelis in October 2023. Civilians have been caught in the crossfire, leading to a humanitarian crisis. Israel has been accused of serious war crimes, and the international community calls for a ceasefire immediately. The conflict has sent shockwaves throughout the region. Neighboring countries are watching the situation closely. They fear the potential for spillover. The conflict has exacerbated existing tensions. It has inflamed public opinion across the Arab world. Some countries have condemned Israel's actions. Others have called for restraint from both sides. The conflict has also highlighted the divisions within the Arab world. Some countries have normalized relations with Israel in recent years. Others remain staunchly opposed. The conflict has also drawn in global powers, creating a complex web of alliances and rivalries that shape the geopolitical landscape. The United States, a longtime ally of Israel, has provided diplomatic and military support. This support includes billions of dollars in military aid, advanced weaponry, and intelligence sharing, all aimed at ensuring Israel's security in a volatile region. Russia, which has ties to both sides, has called for a ceasefire. Moscow's involvement is driven by its strategic interests in the Middle East, where it seeks to maintain influence and counterbalance U.S. presence. The conflict has put the Biden administration in a difficult position. Balancing support for Israel with calls for humanitarian aid to Palestinians, the administration faces a delicate diplomatic challenge. The U.S. is facing pressure to do more to stop the violence. Protests across the country have seen citizens demanding a stronger stance against the conflict, urging the government to take decisive action. However, it is also wary of jeopardizing its relationship with Israel. The U.S.-Israel alliance is a cornerstone of American foreign policy in the Middle East, and any shift could have significant repercussions. The conflict has also highlighted the growing influence of China in the Middle East. As a rising global power, China is increasingly involved in regional diplomacy, seeking to expand its footprint and secure its interests. China has called for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. Beijing's approach emphasizes dialogue and negotiation, positioning itself as a proponent of stability in the region. It has positioned itself as a potential mediator. By offering to mediate, China aims to enhance its diplomatic clout and present itself as a responsible global actor capable of resolving complex international disputes. The conflict is also being fought on the airwaves and online. Both sides are engaged in a fierce propaganda war. They are trying to shape the narrative of the conflict in their favor. The media is playing a key role in this information war. News outlets are often accused of bias in favor of Israel. Social media platforms are being used to spread misinformation and disinformation. The sheer volume of information can be overwhelming. It is difficult to separate fact from fiction. This makes it all the more important to be critical of the information. The conflict is taking a devastating toll on civilians. Thousands of people have been killed or injured. Many more have been displaced from their homes. The Gaza Strip in particular is facing a humanitarian catastrophe. The densely populated enclave has been battered by Israeli airstrikes. Hospitals and other essential infrastructure have been damaged or destroyed. There is a dire need for food, water, medicine, and other essential supplies in Gaza. Aid agencies are struggling to reach those in need because of being repeatedly targeted by Israeli Air Force. Social media platforms have become major battlegrounds in the conflict. Both sides are using these platforms to disseminate their narratives and mobilize support. The use of social media has both positive and negative consequences. On the one hand, it has helped to raise awareness of the conflict. It has given a voice to those who might not otherwise be heard. On the other hand, social media has also contributed to the spread of misinformation and hate speech. It has exacerbated tensions and polarization. The conflict shows no signs of abating. Both sides seem determined to fight on. The international community is calling for a ceasefire. However, it is unclear how this can be achieved. The underlying issues that have fueled the conflict for decades remain unresolved. A lasting peace will require difficult compromises from both sides. It will require the active involvement of the international community. The international community has a responsibility to help end the conflict. It must use all its diplomatic tools to bring the two sides to the negotiating table. A unified response is crucial. The international community must speak with one voice. It must send a clear message that violence is unacceptable. The international community must also provide humanitarian assistance to those in need. It must ensure that aid reaches those who need it most. The Israel-Hamas conflict is a tragedy for all involved. It is a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict. The conflict has far-reaching implications. It has the potential to destabilize the entire region. The international community must redouble its efforts to find a lasting solution. Peace may seem elusive, but it is the only way to end the cycle of violence and suffering.